Hey guys, welcome to the first ever eBay Scores video series that I'll be doing on my channel. This video series is going to be me finding stuff that's broken on eBay, fixing it up and reselling it for a good price, but enough where I can make some money and put it towards my channel. I'd really like to get to the point where everything I build in this channel, I could just give it away to my viewers, because I like the fun of the build and not necessarily using the stuff I build. So on the first series, we're going to be fixing this blown Boston Acoustics amp. It's a Boston Acoustics G2 300. I've never really heard of them, but I got it for a really good price on eBay. It's broken. The seller said it goes into protect mode and it doesn't play any audio. So we're going to dive into this and see if we can fix it. Alright, so I'm about ready to dive into it and see if we can actually take it apart and fix it. I've never really taken this apart before, so from what I see, I think you just start from the top end. Awesome, so we're actually able to get it apart. So now I want to look at a few things. Obviously I'm going to check all the capacitors. I'll also check all the transistors, or obviously with the age of this amp I'm assuming it's MOSFETs, but yeah, MOSFETs. And I'll look at all the input stuff in that. So let's just get ready to look into it. So when I purchased the amp, I knew it was broken, and the seller said that the amp is not outputting any sound and it's going in protect mode. So knowing that, I'm assuming that something's broken and shorting. So I'm assuming one of the MOSFETs on here is either broken. It could be one of these capacitors or any number of things. So I'm just going to begin by looking at the MOSFETs in here, all along here, and looking if I notice anything that's like burned or discolored real bad. And that'll be a good starting point for me to dive in. Usually a lot of times one of the MOSFETs will end up being broken. I don't know, they all seem pretty good to me there. At least there's no like certain signs like, hey, you should take a look here. So I'm looking at all these capacitors. On these electrolytic capacitors, you know how they have the X? If the X is like bowled out, right now it's flat. If it was actually bulging out, that's a really good sign of like, hey, this capacitor is blown. Or if it's leaking out any fluid anywhere around here, that's also a good sign that it's blown. It's leading its electrolytic fluid, and that's just a good starting point. So all these look pretty good to me. Yeah, I don't think any of these are blown. And the fuse right here is good. Well, obviously this is not blown because it's still going in protect mode, so something's shorting, but it's not short enough where this is being blown. And all these capacitors look good. I wonder if it's being shorted. This seems fine. Well, okay, here's something. Yeah, this trace right here is burned. So right here, and it's going to the fan. So that's going to be one starting point I'm going to look at. So there, and do I see anything else? No. It all looks fine here. Nope, that looks fine. There's some discoloration right here too. So some of these traces are getting pretty hot right here. Oh, same thing right here. But on these traces right here, they seem discolored, but they're not broken like this one right here yet. And no, these ones are fine. So right here to the fan output, this one's broken. So knowing that it's going in protect mode, there could be a safety switch in here that if it doesn't sense this fan's pulling current, that, hey, go in protect mode so you don't overheat and kill yourself. But I wonder why that is. it could be that one of the fans, one of its bearings are shot, so it could just be shorted out. I'm gonna pull the fans out and check. It has a bunch of them. Huh. That's interesting. It seems like the fans are only put here, not directly in the middle. And they're all like tangled together. I don't know why they did that. But so I want to first make sure that these fans can freely spin. No, they can freely spin. So that's not one of the reasons why they're shorting out. Because if the fan's not spinning, it's essentially would be just a short circuit, and then it'll just be pulling a bunch of current. Well, that doesn't explain why, and I doubt that these were pulling enough to actually burn this trace like this. I don't know if there's something else. One of these wires is pulled really tightly. I wonder if it's scratched, or that it broke the insulation and just shorted out to the casing. Because I'm sure this is ground. Yeah, I see some exposed wire right there. I don't know if that could be it. Maybe. Because I'm sure these two fans are just hooked in parallel, so if one of these is broken... Oh yeah, right here it's broken as well. So like I said, it was weird, like these fans were put in here, but they were like really tight. There was a lot of tension on there. And I'm sure with any vibrations of that after a while, being on a corner like this, it just ended up scratching the insulation away. Oh, look how fast I just did it right there. Like just a few vibrations like that. And I'm almost all the way there. So I think that could be it. And I think it could have been shorting to here. And that's what was throwing it into protect mode. So I know one thing I want to do is I'm going to add a little solder to these two traces right here. So the solder layer is going to first protect it from oxidizing, and it's also going to give it a little bit more current carrying capacities. And then I'm going to have to repair this trace right here, and also both these fans also right here. Oh, this one's still in? Okay. So I definitely think that these fan wires were being shorted on the case. So I'm gonna turn on my Haiku. I have it set to 700 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm gonna get a little solder. Because first and foremost, I'm gonna tin these up a little bit and help increase how much current they can handle. Because they discolored, and I don't think it's because of this. So one thing I want to make sure is that these can handle a little bit more current, and that the copper will not, and so that the copper doesn't oxidize. Nice. So now here, I don't know exactly, I don't have a professional trace repair kit, so I'm probably just gonna throw some wire and have it just connect these two together. Because to really do this right, you would cut it here and here, and just put a new trace down inside of the copper to it. But this method will work. So if I know in one of these drawers I have just copper, so Awesome, so at least I have a new trace on there, and that should be sufficient enough to carry that. And I'll throw some Kapton tape over this before I close it all up. Now about these, I'm gonna have to fix these as well, because there's obviously something not correct with them. And let's see. I'm just gonna cut these because I'm gonna probably just throw some heat shrink over them, and I'll just do that to both. Awesome. So right now I'm just getting ready, I just put the trace there, and then I'm getting ready to test the amp. So like I said, I'm going to throw some heat shrink tubing over these fan wires. And since as you saw, I cut the heads off, and the way I usually splice two wires together is I cut about 3/4 of an inch to an inch of wire, bare wire, so I have like this. I meet them in the middle and just twist in opposite directions. And this way you get a nice flat section to solder, and it's not like the typical pigtails people do. So I've done it for all 4 of them, and they're hooked up correctly, so I'm just about ready to solder these back up together. That was good. I'm going to slide the heat shrink down. Both of them. So awesome, now I got all these heat shrunk up. I'm ready to put these back in, and we'll test the amp and see how it does. Awesome, so I have it all hooked up. I put my phone as the input. I just have it hooked up to this little crappy speaker and a 12-volt source. This one's like a 20-watt source, so it'll deliver 2 amps, but obviously it's not going to be that high. I'll lower it, and I guess I'm going to put a song that I can't get just screwed over with copyright issue. I'm going to put the Halo theme song, No Shame. So let me start. Now this is a 12-volt wire, and as soon as I touch it to the remote line here, it should turn on. Let me see. So it is working. We got it to work. So was that, I was right in assuming that this was probably just shorting out. And yeah, so I think it's time to put this back together. I don't have any Kapton tape, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put electrical tape all over these bare connections. That way I'll help keep moisture and everything off of them. But let's just hear it play one more time. I love every time you turn on something once you fix. Nice. Awesome, so let's get ready to put it back together. Now that the amp's working, I covered all the bare traces I had with electrical tape. That way it's insulated. I know it's not as good as the solder, what it's called. I forgot what the green stuff's called on top. Solder mask. The solder mask that they put on, but hey, you know, it's going to keep off moisture off of it and anything, and it's going to insulate it, so, you know, for what I have, it's good enough. So, now it's time to put this back together. We're going to obviously cue the time lapse because it took me so long to take it apart. I don't know how I'm going to put it back together. So, let's put it back together. So, awesome, we were able to get the amp back together, we were able to get it repaired, and this eBay scores was obviously a success. I'm really glad I was able to fix this amp. I was kind of surprised that happened to it. You know, Boston Acoustics is such like a, I guess almost a premium audio company that I don't expect something to happen to an amp like this, but nevertheless, we were able to fix it, get it back together, and someone's going to be able to get a good amp for a really good price. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of eBay Scores where we will be repairing a 3D printer. Thanks a lot.